Hello, I'm Suna Verhoef. In this video, I will be talking about the importance of recreation and leisure and how you can infuse it into your curriculum. As we scroll through social media feeds on Facebook and Instagram nowadays, it is common to see people posting about how much they enjoyed their gym sessions and sharing statistics about their heart rates and blood pressure via their fitness apps. People share weight loss goals and photos of themselves after finishing marathons and parkruns. The problem is that social media might make us think that society in general today is fit and healthy and never look better. Unfortunately, reports suggest otherwise. In the last decade, there has been a significant increase in people who are overweight or obese. For individuals with disabilities, the chances of being overweight or obese are even greater. Research shows that 50% more adults and 84% more adolescents with disabilities were overweight and/or obese. Factors such as access to quality nutrition, limited financial and social resources to engage in physical fitness-related activities, limited access to suitable equipment and programs, and the secondary effects of medications or conditions directly impact these elevated rates. The simple reality is that most children and adults with disabilities are too often not afforded opportunities to participate in sport, which, like in any group, many would very much enjoy. It is therefore hugely important that those of us who teach at special or inclusive schools do not neglect recreation and leisure activities. The extramural program should ideally include a wide variety of sport, cultural and social activities. Although it is true that sport has many health benefits, for many or most people, sport is not done mainly because it is the healthy, responsible thing to do, but rather because it's fun. They share, they belong, they make friends and sometimes enemies. They participate in life. Sport is part of living. It's about enjoying, it's about being alive. As professionals working towards an inclusive community, we need to make a deliberate effort to learn about new developments and possibilities so that visually impaired learners are able to enjoy and participate in a wide range of activities. It is most likely that educators will need to be more hands-on than usual, as learners may need to learn specific skills in order to participate in the activity. Visually impaired learners cannot observe behavior and will have to be taken through the steps systematically. It often promotes new respect between educator and learner as they become aware of a different side of one another outside the classroom. For example, the learner who might be struggling academically and therefore possibly be rebellious in class might be good at athletics and a pleasure to be with on the athletics track. Educators of visually impaired learners may not be aware of other options than the traditional sport recreational opportunities and the possible adaptations that would allow learners to participate in these activities. I would therefore like to share some of the traditional and more well-known activities as well as some examples of new inventions in the field. This list is by no means exhaustive, and therefore there are many more examples that can be found through internet searches. Learners will also naturally gravitate toward a preferred activity, and of course they should be permitted to develop in their area of interest. But it is important to expose them to a wide variety of leisure activities to ensure they are aware of the wide variety of leisure activities available. Factors such as cost and material adaptations will play a factor in what activities are offered. Some of the adapted sports we are now going to look at is goalball, blind cricket, golf with a sighted guide, tandem cycling, table tennis, swimming, rowing, archery, and rock climbing and mountaineering. Goalball is a sport that was invented in 1946 and designed specifically for visually impaired learners. It is an internationally recognized sport, and at least 3 of the schools for visually impaired in South Africa offer it. There is an annual national goalball competition, and it is registered as an official sports event at the Paralympics. The object of the game is to throw a ball past the opponents and into their net to score points. Players stay on their hands and knees to defend their net and score against their opponents. Blind cricket is offered in schools for the visually impaired in South Africa. A size 3 football with ball bearings is used to allow partially sighted players to see it and blind players to hear it. Wickets are larger, so batsmen and bowlers can touch them to orientate themselves. For a blind batsman, the ball must bounce at least twice before reaching the crease. For a partially sighted batsman, the ball must bounce at least once before reaching the crease. These are some of the adaptations that are made so that cricket is accessible. Visually impaired learners can play golf with a sighted guide who ensures that the club head is correctly positioned behind the ball, and they also provide the visually impaired person with a description of the hole and the distance to hit the shot. Tandem cycling has also increased in popularity and can be pursued recreationally or competitively. Table tennis has been described as one of the easiest sports to adapt for many partially sighted people without any need for specialist equipment or modification in rules. Polybat is a sport designed for legally blind people and is quite similar to table tennis. Swimming for the blind and partially sighted has become more and more popular, and there is an increasing number of national and international competitions held every year. Rowing is a fantastic sport which can be enjoyed by partially sighted and blind alike without any need for specialist rules or equipment. There needs to be only one sighted person in the team, and that is the cox. Rowing is one of the few sports in which people with sight loss can compete with sighted people on equal terms. Archery is another sport which has been successfully adapted. The equipment required is the same, but there are a number of extra aids available. Rock climbing and mountaineering are very physically demanding sports, but there are blind and partially sighted people who take part in this sport with the help of sighted instructors and leaders. Schools for the blind in South Africa also offer wrestling, judo and dancing. On international websites I came across other examples such as horse riding, bowling, snow sports, sailing, gymnastics, equestrian, 10-pin bowling, scuba diving and paragliding. The sky's the limit. Not everyone knows that chess is considered a sport. They assume it is a cultural activity. Chess has also been adapted and is called braille chess. The chess boards and pieces are adapted and some of the rules as well. Visually impaired athletes participate in short and long track events with the help of a guide, and with the help of a sighted guide, it is entirely possible for a blind person to participate in triathlons. Once again, it is important to know the rules if you are interested in the sport on a competitive level, and the best option is to contact the official boards involved with the sport. It is important to participate in games against other schools. Some mainstream schools would be willing to play adapted games. Otherwise, matches can be organized with other schools for the visually impaired. We might find that some visually impaired learners are initially very shy and hesitant to participate in competitions. Consider a gradual process of integration and slow increase in difficulty, but try and encourage learners to be involved rather than retreat and give up. It is understandable that new situations can be highly stressful for some learners, and it should be handled with sensitivity. Apart from sport, other clubs such as environmental clubs, gardening clubs, and community outreaches can be started within the school and with other schools. Traditionally, schools for the visually impaired only had choirs or perhaps a brass band, but nowadays schools also have pop bands, rock bands and rap groups. Many learners play musical instruments. Some schools offer dancing lessons for blind learners, adapted visual art, drama, musicals, reading and spelling competitions, debating and public speaking, and have school newspapers. If the school has funds or someone is willing to donate money, there are numerous games that have been adapted for the blind. Nowadays you get cards with Braille, adapted Scrabble and Snakes and Ladders, just to mention a few. The school could order a couple of these games and have them available in class to play after learners have finished allocated classwork. There has also been an increase in blind and partially sighted gamers. Websites for gamers who are blind are, for example, audio games and games for the blind. Audio Games is a site dedicated to audio gamers and games accessible to persons who are blind. Games for the Blind offers games that are accessible and designed specifically for visually impaired and blind computer users. It is really important that you increase your knowledge and ensure that our visually impaired learners know the options involved in deciding how to spend leisure time, learn to play indoor and outdoor games, develop hobbies like arts and crafts, music, dance, or exploring interests which may later develop into careers. Enjoy attending and playing games, and be able to discuss these topics as a way of connecting with the broader community. And then they too can start posting their achievements on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.